Hi ladies, it's Hillary, owner of Free Babes Handmade and blogger at I'mLikeBrave.com, a blog all about living an uncommon life that you love with your family through entrepreneurship. I personally love having one-on-one coffee dates with other entrepreneurs that I admire, and so I thought it'd be really fun to start a weekly series where I get to interview creative entrepreneurs and you get to listen in. From these interviews, you will learn from their successes and their failures, get behind the scenes access to see how they built their business, and you'll walk away with valuable insights that will help you take your business to the next level. So grab a cup of coffee and join the conversation. Enjoy! Hi ladies, it's Hillary, and I'm so excited to be here today with Shella Garcia, owner of Shop Sweet Threads, the cutest boutique in Long Beach, California. Shella sells vintage kids wear and finds, and she also sells a lot of local handmade products there, and just has the cutest kids boutique around. So thanks for being with us, Shella.
No problem. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So before we start talking about business, can you take some time and tell us a little bit more about yourself?
My name is Sheila, and I guess my spelling of my name is unique. It's spelled Shella. Everyone thinks it's Shella, but I'm Sheila. I was born in Japan and lived there for about 8 years before coming here to Long Beach. And I've been here ever since. I went to school for fashion design and merchandising, and have been working in the fashion industry for 10 years plus.
Yeah, and what did you do before you started Shop Sweet Threads? Where were you working?
I was working at 7 for All Mankind. It's a denim luxury brand, or a high-end denim brand, and I was doing product development for the women's team. So product development is more like a liaison between design and production, making sure that things get tested and no issues come about when it comes to production.
Cool. And so how did you start Shop Sweet Threads? What made you transition from 7 to starting your own thing?
Well, I actually started researching on having a business. Even when I was at my previous job before 7 at Rock and Republic, I just, I realized that I was working long hours. It was stressful. I was very passionate about my job, and I realized that if I was going to work this hard, it was going to be for myself. And that's when a friend and I teamed up, and the person that I wanted to team up with, she wanted to do children's fashions, while I, on the other hand, wanted to do women's vintage. So like any relationship, you have to compromise. So we compromised, and after researching, we came up with a unique idea of children's vintage fashions. We saw that there was a small market for it, but there wasn't a very big presence of retailers. So, we took the chance, we saw that it was different, and we went for it. When people say, when everybody goes right, go left,
yeah,
that's what we did.
Awesome. Yeah, they say, when everyone zigs, you should zag. Cool.
So I strive on being different and unique. Because there's so much out there, and it's very hard to be noticed, I guess. So I really worked hard on trying to set ourselves apart, and we did that by choosing something like no one was really doing, which was children's vintage at the time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so, can you give us kind of a bird's eye view of what it looked like? You said you've been in business for 4 years. So from the moment you started, what did that look like? And then the waypoints along the way to get to where you are today.
Okay. We started selling on Etsy in 2011. We were only selling the vintage kids clothing at the time, and then a few months of being there, we had an opportunity to move our shop onto a platform called Made Freshly. It was our friend's startup company. And it was like, a trade-off. We would be his guinea pigs, and we would get a free platform for free. So we moved our shop, and as soon as we moved our shop, at the time I really looked up to Nasty Gal, and she had the new and vintage combination. So I wanted to bring in the new. So we added the new portion, and that's where that came in. At the same time, we started selling at flea markets. Oh, and by the way, when we moved our shop, it was 2012. So at the same time of moving our shop, we were selling at flea markets, and at the flea markets, a baby blogger, the Stork and the Beanstalk, stepped into our booth. You know, she loved it. She made some purchases, and then soon after, she featured us on her blog, and you know, we started to get some bites from that, and more attention, and that was 2012. So then in 2013, you know, I felt that putting ourselves out there at the flea markets and just on Instagram, I felt like we got a little bit more of a following that I felt comfortable, and I was ready to leave the industry. So I opened up the brick and mortar edition in 2013. Then, you know, that was when Instagram was really become popular for small businesses, especially. Because my location wasn't the greatest location, I really took advantage of that free media and would sell on my Instagram, like using hashtags and just really trying to follow mommies that I would think would follow back. And I would start selling the vintage, and I soon realized that there was a high demand for it. The problem was, which was a good problem to have, was I only had one. So I, you know, asked myself, well, how can I capitalize on this demand? And that was to create a girls-inspired vintage line called Posh, and that happened in 2014. And then 2015, we outgrew our first space and moved into a bigger location in the same city of Long Beach. And believe it or not, we've already outgrown the space that we're in now, and we're currently looking for a new one.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome. So by outgrowing it, you mean you just like are bringing on too much product, or what?
We're bringing on more product categories. You know, last year I wasn't carrying baby blankets and things like that. So we're bringing in more categories and products that customers have been requesting. So because they've been requesting it, I mean, I want to bring it in because you want to meet your customers' needs, but I don't have the space to do it.
Wow, that's so awesome. So are you guys going to find a new space now that you're outgrowing?
We have been looking since the end of last year, and we have been very close to finding one, but it always ends up not being the right one. So we're still looking, not yet. But, you know, we believe in things happening for a reason, and once we're ready, I'm sure something will pop up.
Yeah. So what is your percentage of online versus brick and mortar sales?
We would say about like 70 to 30%.
70 brick and mortar? Oh.
Yeah. 60 online, 30% in store.
Okay, cool. And so is your long-term strategy more brick and mortars or just building online, or what?
Well, I love the experience of going into a store. I think that's why we are different, like the way that we merchandise our store, the way it's decorated. I really want that shopping experience to be experienced by my customers. Whereas like online, I don't know if they can actually get that. I mean, they might be in different ways. So I've always thought to grow my business by opening up another store. But I do know, especially after that speaker panel that I was in, everyone is saying that, you know, brick and mortar is dying, and it's all about online, which I do. I believe it's true, and we are investing on the back end, such as SEO and like getting our rankings up with Google. So I don't think I'm ever going to let go of my physical space, my store. I think I'll just have like a healthy balance of both. But it would be nice to have your online store work for you while, you're sleeping.
Totally, right?
So yeah, I'm going to have both.
Mm-hmm.
And am I answering this question right?
Yeah, you are. Well, so you bring up a really great point. So like the money's obviously in the online model and growing that, but what you said was you find a lot of joy and fulfillment having that shop experience where people interact with you. And I feel like if you just follow purely the money, then all of a sudden you'll have a business that doesn't bring you as much joy as like doing the things in your business that are perfect for you, which bring you happiness, like an online store or a brick and mortar store.
Right. And, with a brick and mortar store, I didn't even think about it when I was first starting it, but I've gained a lot of relationships with my customers, some of who I am very good friends with now. And it's given me an opportunity to get to know the community. And I definitely don't think I'd be able to do that with just an online store. So I value that. And I'd keep it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So our blog, I'm Like Brave, it's all about women creating a business so that they can live lives that they love. And so for you, what is your big why or the big lifestyle goal that you have for yourself that you hope to achieve through Shop Sweet Threads?
I was just telling my husband right before this, we're really tired right now. We're so exhausted. And having a business is not easy. But we said, we were looking back and I was saying, we did this to begin with because we wanted to do something that we were happy with. And we thought we'd be able to, have more time, I guess. I know we can achieve that with having our business. That would just need to be a goal we need to reach. So my why is, to have that flexibility where I can do what I love and, still have a well-balanced life, mm-hmm. and to be able to support my family with it. So I hope that was...
Yeah, no, that's great. Like, I was just listening to a podcast today that was saying, like, unless you have SMART goals and you know exactly why or, like, what you want out of your life, like, you will not make decisions that are in line with that. So, like, if you're saying now you're looking to maybe work less, have more time, like, redefining those goals will allow you to, like, say yes or no to certain business opportunities because they either fit into it or they don't.
Right.
And I feel like that's something that we're all struggling with constantly is like really defining if this opportunity is really great or if it will work into our long-term picture or not.
Exactly.
Totally. So what would you say has been your biggest learning lesson through growing Shop Sweet Threads so far? Your biggest failure, I guess.
My biggest failure? I don't think it's I had said this before, I don't think it's a failure, more of a learning lesson, and that's mixing family or friends with business. You want to bring in family and friends into your business because you trust them and it's fun to work with them. But sometimes you realize through that you don't have the same vision. And when you're running a business and you have to manage your friends or whatnot, it starts to get awkward and difficult. And it's also counterproductive when trying to grow your business. And I would rather, save my relationship or I don't want to ruin a relationship because of that. Mm-hmm. So I think knowing now not to mix family and friends with business is probably my biggest learning lesson so far.
So did you hire a friend or were you trying to go into business with a friend?
I had a partner who was like a really good friend. Like I would really consider her one of my best friends.
Uh-huh.
And it just, it started to strain the relationship because I had such a drive. I had such a drive to want to push this business and grow it. I didn't have kids. It was just me and my husband. I had more time on my hands. Her, on the other hand, she had a child, and she was like her sole provider for her family. So I later understood why she couldn't put in as much as I did. But at the time, I was like, well, why aren't you working just as hard as I am?
Mm-hmm.
You're half the business. But that's where, before going into a business together, those things need to be discussed and agreed upon before anything. So, yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I think like whether it's a friend or your husband or couples, I think having a partnership lead a business is just always so tricky because you have one, usually if it's just you have one goal, one vision, and you know exactly what you want for your company, and you're responsible for working hard, and you can't get, you're either mad at yourself or not for the drive that you have. But when you work with someone else, you have all these expectations that are either met or not met. That's a good lesson. I worked with my husband for 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, in our old business. And it was really hard. I think at one point we had to sit down and say, look, we're either going to get a divorce or we're going to work together, because it's like we can't do both anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what would you say is the best decision you've ever made for your business?
The best decision I ever made for my business. I feel like it's an ongoing thing that I've done for my business and it's one of the strengths and qualities that I have, I think, is tenacity.
Mm-hmm.
I've always, anytime anyone says, whether it's my husband or anyone, saying that I can't do that, I will always question it. Well, why can't we? Well, how else can we do it? Nothing's impossible. There's got to be a way that, we can make it work. So I think just never letting go of what I believe mm-hmm. is one of the best decisions I can do for my business.
Yeah, that's so great. Can you tell us a little bit about where you find your entrepreneur inspiration, whether it's like a certain community or a mentor, or who do you look up to for that?
Well, I started off with a friend who was also an entrepreneur, and, I had no idea what I was doing or how I was even going to do it. So I did look up to him, and he would be my mentor. And I also, I use Google a lot, and Google is my best friend. So uh-huh. I would look up anything that would say like how to start a business, and then something came up like, I think it was called Score at the time. Uh-huh. Which is now like SBDC. So then it led me there, and I've used them since I first started, and it's a very useful resource just because it's free, which is very helpful. And they assign you a mentor, and they have everything from, getting your DBA, your website, SEO, a blog, everything that you can think of. So they have been a very good tool. And now, I've just figured it out along the way. I ask a lot of questions with anyone that I come across to or I've networked with. I ask a lot of questions. And through trial and error, honestly, I learned through my mistakes.
Yeah. Google, like you said, just like asking and always trying to learn. That's great. So I feel like I just read this book called Strengths Finder, and it helped me identify what my top 3 strengths were, like in general, and then I realized how I apply them to my business. So we're really curious about what your strengths are and like what you're really good at in your business.
Yeah, like I said, tenacity is one of my strengths. I am very persistent when it comes to certain things.
So, Sheila, if you were to teach a college course on entrepreneurship, what would it be called and what would you teach us?
It would be called um, figuring out the the unconventional way of starting a business.
Awesome.
Like I said, there are a ton of people who ask me, can I pick your brain? How did you start this business? Honestly, I didn't know what I was doing, and I think because I can relate to them being in their position trying to start a business, I would probably, teach a funny course of, well, start off with Google, do your research. I would just teach them the steps that I took in order to get to where I was today. And that's just, through trial and error, asking a lot of questions, networking, and really trying to find out who your customer is.
So, can you tell us the behind the scenes, like what does your company structure look like? Do you have any employees or who does what for your company?
So I have 3 part-time employees, and myself and my husband. My husband does mostly the back-end stuff like the financials, payroll, and some legal things. And my 3 employees, I have 2 main girls who are in there most of the time, and they do anything from managing the website, when new products come in, listing items for me. They run the store. They do customer service. They are sales associates. They wear a lot of different hats.
Mm-hmm.
They even do some Instagram posts for me, but I have the final edit. And then there is one girl who comes with me on our product development and production trips. And one of the goals that we have this year is to grow our wholesale business. So she is, right now, she's going to be the one to run that.
Cool. And I bet you have a unique perspective since you purchase wholesale. Selling wholesale is probably easier for you, right?
Selling wholesale?
Well, just since you're a purchaser, so you kind of know what other purchasers look for.
Right. I mean, I understand the process. It's getting the right team to sell your product and getting it in the right stores is the challenge.
Totally. Well, can you tell us a little bit more about your line, Posh, and how that started and like what that looks like? Or how much of your time do you spend on that and what do your production trips look like?
So Posh was inspired by the vintage clothing that I would sell. There being a high demand for it, and I wanted to capitalize on it. I wanted to be able to offer more of just the one piece that I had. And I come from a background of product development, so I'm familiar with the design process and the production process. So I thought to myself, I've always kind of wanted to be a designer, and why not start now? So that's where it came from. And I used to try, and I still do. I follow the regular season of the women's market.
Mm-hmm.
We try and pull trends, but at the end of the day, a lot of my inspiration comes from vintage pieces that I come across. I feel like children's is a little bit different than the women's market, so I kind of just do my own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just things that really speak to me. Is what goes into development. And for production schedule, we try to do the 4 seasons: spring, summer, fall, holiday, or / resort. But and we'll do seasonal things like 4th of July that's coming up, Valentine's if we can do it. We'll try and inject those special capsules, if you will, into it as well. But I guess, like I said, I'm doing it the unconventional way. I do it the way that works for me, and it's worked so far.
Cool. Yeah, you sound like you're really excited about growing the clothing line itself.
Mm-hmm. I am. I am excited. It's scary, but if it doesn't scare you, right?
Yeah.
It's not worth doing. I don't know.
Totally. They say if you're not uncomfortable, or life begins outside your comfort zone. So doing those things that are scary are where you usually grow the most, right? Can you tell us about the best business book you've ever read, or kind of where you get your business resources from?
Yeah, I think the best business resource that I go to right now, there are two. I listen to Marie Forleo, and she's like a YouTube life coach. She has her own website and everything.
Yeah, I love her.
Yeah, she's fun and quirky. She doesn't take herself so seriously, so you can relate to her. But she has some really good points to talk about, and just life in general. So I think she's a good one to go to. And then Pat Flynn from Smart Passive Income. Mm-hmm. He's been really good help with, especially with the online, e-marketing and things like that, because, that's very important for our business nowadays.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, totally. I love his podcast as well. I'm taking Marie Forleo's B School program right now. Have you heard of that one?
I have heard of the B School, but I haven't done it yet.
Yeah. It's really good, because I buy courses a lot because I love that stuff. And hers is like the first one where I'm like, this is worth the money. This is like a college program. It's so good.
Okay, good. That's good to know.
Yeah, totally.
I'll consider that.
And so I opened it up to the community to see if anyone had any questions for you. And some of the people were really interested to learn more about just your vintage collection. Like, how often do you go sourcing for vintage finds, and how does that work?
Okay. Well, prior to me starting the Posh line, I had a lot more time, so I would try and go and source at least. I was always sourcing, whenever I was out and I came across like a thrift store or a yard sale or an estate sale, I would try and make it a point to go and look for something. But I realized it's become far and few between in finding the good vintage pieces for kids. So now I'll go maybe just once a month, mm-hmm. if I get the chance to source. Sometimes people will come in to the store or call me to see if I'd be interested in seeing some of their pieces they found. So that's been another way of us adding to our collection.
Yeah, that's a great idea. You're seriously like the Nasty Gal, but for the kids version.
Oh, that's good.
Right? That's so cool. So to close this out, Sheila, do you have, what advice would you like to share with the community, like for women who are just starting their business and are curious just about the road ahead?
I would say, there isn't any right or wrong way of starting your business. I honestly do think it's through trial and error. If something doesn't work this way, then try a different way. And you really need to know your customer. I'll be honest, I'm not a mother yet, and many will ask, well, how did you even get into kids clothing? And I wasn't the best at knowing what my customer or who my customer was when I first started. It all came through trial and error, and really listening to your customer, listening to what their needs are and acting on that. Like if they are looking for baby blankets, you better get some baby blankets in your store. It's a challenging road, but if you have passion for it, go for it, and don't get frustrated along the way. Like Marie Forleo says, adore your detours. You might have a vision set in your mind, but life is ever changing, and you just need to don't take them for granted. Mm-hmm. See where your road takes you. If you asked me 10 years ago if I knew I was going to be in this business, I would have said absolutely not. But life led me here, and I'm having a lot of fun doing it. So
totally, yeah. Well, I love what you Yeah, I love what you say about just keeping an open mind and just like letting it lead you where it leads you. And you seem to have a very humble approach to business, which is really refreshing. I like that. So Sheila, oh my gosh, I just did it. Where can we find you online?
You can find us at www.shopsweetthreads.com, or you can find us on Instagram, where our handle is at shopsweetthreads. And Snapchat is shopsweetthreads, but without the O.
Awesome. Thank you. And I just have to say, like, for all of you guys out there, I sell some of my bows at Shop Sweet Threads, and Sheila's like one of my favorite people I've ever worked with. So I'm just vouching for you as a business. You're great. And I've had friends who visited your boutique and just absolutely have loved it. So you're doing great things. And thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I hope that all of you guys watching have learned at least something from Sheila that you can incorporate into your business. And if you haven't checked out her shop online, you should go check it out now. So have a great day, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.